planning to increase payments to sperm donors and egg donors to encourage more to come forward. But it seems that a growing number of women, young single women in particular, and couples as well, are choosing to use unregulated donors via the internet. So we're going to talk about how these sites operate, why people use them, and whether they're safe or not. Dominic Hughes and Rob Hicks, Dr. Rob Hicks, is still with me. We can also talk to Laura Vitchens, from the National Gamete Donation Trust. That's a charity, a government-funded charity, trying to raise awareness of and seek ways to alleviate the shortage of sperm, egg and embryo donors. We'll hear from Sarah in a moment, a 22-year-old who has used these sites. But just briefly, Dominic, the background to this fall in donors and the new payment system.
Well, yeah, there have been a consistently fairly small number of sperm donors. The latest figures we have, 2008, just 396 sperm donors. But a lot of people have often linked that to the ending of anonymity for sperm donors in 2005. But actually, the Human Fertilisation and Embryology Authority, the HFEA, say when you look at the figures, there actually hasn't been that much of a change since anonymity was abandoned in 2005. They say it just has historically always been a pretty low number. Now, they talk about compensation rather than payment, because actually payment for sperm is against the law. So what they're going to try and do is, currently you can get up to £250 for loss of earnings and reasonable expenses, and you need to provide proof and receipts. They're saying that from their proposal is that sperm donors will be paid £35 per clinic visit, and typically each clinic, you do about 15 clinic visits, so we're talking about £525.
And critically, payment from clinics would push people hopefully push people towards clinics rather than this online approach. Let's hear what Sarah did. 22-year-old Sarah, have a listen.
Well, from my own experiences, as a child, I had a father and a stepfather, and I felt I'd be better off if neither of them were around, and I felt that I could do it better alone than perhaps get into a relationship that would inevitably fail, as most do these days.
Whilst it is a high number that fail, but it still isn't most, I don't think, Sarah. I just wonder whether you're planning your future based entirely on your past. I don't know. You know better than me, I suppose.
Perhaps, but you can only go and experience.
What about new experiences?
New experiences, but you can only guess at those.
Well, tell me what you did then. You chose not to go down the route of an official, sort of regulated clinic. Why was that?
It felt quite clinical and cold, and you didn't really get to choose. You get to choose a donor, but you didn't really get to choose anything about their personality, that sort of thing. Their profiles didn't go into a lot of detail, whereas if you did it privately, you could go into quite a bit of detail, actually talk to the donors one-on-one, find out why they're doing this and what they want from it.
And how far down the clinic route did you go? Because I'd be curious to know what the professionals there said to you, particularly given your age.
Yeah, I didn't go too far down into it. I just sort of read up on all of it, read up on private and clinic donors, and decided from there.
So you didn't go to any clinics and talk to?
No, I didn't go to a clinic. Yeah. No.
So tell me what happened then. You went online, did you, to find somebody?
Yeah, I went online, not really expecting anything to come of it straight away. I sort of looked around a few sites for a while before making any sort of decision. I joined a couple, started chatting to a couple of people. There were some men on there who were clearly only in it for sex, and that put me off for a long while. But then I met a donor, and he was very professional, and he wasn't in it for any sort of emotional attachment.
And were you planning to use the artificial insemination route with this man, or were you what they call or were you going to use what they call natural insemination?
I went for artificial insemination.
Right.
Yeah.
And of the men that you looked at and assessed, how many were offering sexual intercourse as part of the deal rather than?
I would say most offered both. There were a couple that only offered AI, but most offered both.
AI, artificial insemination?
Yeah.
Did you get attached to any of these men?
Well, I only met one, my donor, and yes, I suppose so. I mean, we were good friends in the end, and I didn't actually continue. I didn't conceive, and I didn't continue down that route either. I decided to put it on hold.
And you're not with him, or are you still friends with him?
Yeah, still friends with him, yeah.
And what was his motivation? Because am I right in thinking that the deal that you were offering and seeking was that if you had become pregnant, that would be the end of his involvement?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
And he was happy with that?
Yeah, no, he was more than happy with that. He's got quite a few children out there, I believe. No, I didn't want any sort of involvement from him at all in raising the child.
He's got quite a few. He's got quite a few children out there, you said.
I think he's got a few children out there, yeah.
And how old was he?
In his 30s.
In his 30s, yeah. What about the difficulties of, let's just say you had conceived and some of those other children out there 20 years from now meet one another? I mean, we know that this has happened. We know that this is a risk.
I know. That was a big concern of mine, and my donor kept thorough records and assured me that he asked for details from his recipients to make sure that didn't happen in his life.
Do you think the absence of a father, I know you've clearly had bad experiences both with your biological father and the stepfather that you mentioned as well, but to actually build your life, or build your child's life, I should say, without a father, is that irresponsible?
Well, I suppose that's somebody's opinion. However, there are so many single mothers out there, and they raise their children perfectly well. Better than children have two parents. You're always going to come across obstacles like that. It was a decision I made. I felt comfortable with it. I knew that I could do it financially and emotionally.
That's Sarah. She also told me, subsequently, you can hear the interview in full on the website, by the way. She told me that if she found out that in a real relationship, our partner's family had a history of a particular illness, she would leave the relationship. Now, Laura Vitchins from the National Gammy Donation Trust, I know you went online and looked at these. Should they be banned? Are they dangerous?
Well, they are dangerous, but I don't necessarily believe in banning full stop, because as you can hear from Sarah's story, the type of people who use these websites are changing. She's more a customer. I want it this way. I'm going to have it this way. I don't care the consequences, either for the donor, myself, or the child. I'm going to do this, and we have to recognize that is what's happening. But I've been online, and I'm happy for her that she had a very positive outcome. But I've had some horrific experiences myself, and I did that as researching into the subject. And I've heard too many stories of women, especially women, of course, who have been very unsavory dealings with donors who are untested, who insist on natural insemination. And you're getting people at the most vulnerable time of their lives, where they really want to have children. They do everything they can, as Sarah did, not necessarily reading up to the clinic, because they.
But Laura, you said there. I know what you meant when you described her as a customer, and she had a positive outcome. Because it occurred to me while I was speaking to her. Did it occur to you at any point that some more experienced adult should have intervened and said to this very young woman, let's talk about why you have decided at the age of 22 that a man is not going to feature in your child's life? I mean, that's the thing she needs help with first, isn't it?
Well, as a mother, as a person, as a woman, I agree. In that sense, I feel for nobody has stopped her. And in a clinic, if she would have gone to a clinic, somebody would have picked up on that and made her aware of this and helped her with it.
You're certain of that, are you?
I'm absolutely certain, because every patient or recipient or donor will have to go through counselling, because there is another human being at the end of the line, and this is not something you do on a whim.
Even private clinics?
Oh, absolutely. They have to, and they will. And I think that's one of the main issues, and one of the biggest differences between these unregulated websites and clinics is that they do truly look after the patient or customer, whatever you want to call them.
Laura Vitchins, I should say, many thanks, and thanks to Dominic and to Dr. Rob Hicks as well.